Welcome to Why It's Straight Television. I'm your host, Matthew Salanoa, a filmmaker of over 17 years, here to bring you the filmmaker's perspective on television. Aloha, fans of television. Welcome to Why It's Great Television. I'm your host, Matthew Salanoa, director and podcaster. I've been a filmmaker for over 17 years. And on this podcast, I watch TV shows, some new, some old, and I give my perspective on it from the filmmaker's point of view. So, welcome to the show. On today's episode, I have literally just finished watching season 3 of Bosch. While normally I either do an entire season review or maybe a few episodes building up to the season review, in this particular case, when I started watching, there was only 2 seasons, and I was just going to do the 1-2 punch. Let's just do both seasons, and I thought that's where the show was going to end. And then all of a sudden, season 3 came out, and I was like, oh, all right, well, we're watching this too. And so this is actually going to be a series review, so if you do like what I have to say, cool. I'm sorry I don't have more to say than sort of what I'm going to go through. I'm going to first talk spoiler free as much as I can, and then I will get into spoilers and talk about some of my favorite scenes and stuff like that. Let me first admit that Bosch Legacy is not my typical kind of show. Actually, this is something my mom watched the original show. She's the one who really likes detective shows and cop shows. I am far more the superhero, science fiction, fantasy kind of guy. But in this particular case, my buddy Stephen Chang is in the show. He plays the character Mo, who is Bosch's hacker. He's his guy in the chair, the computer guy who can get any information that's available through the internet. I hadn't seen him in a while. We just reconnected like a little over 6 months ago. It was really nice to see him again. Actually, I had edited how I met Steven was that I edited a short film he was in way back in my college days, and then he was nice enough to act in a short film for me. That was like my college thesis project, you could say. So it's just a real pleasure to see his career just take off. And early on in his career, he was in the Captain Marvel movie, he was in Southland, he was NCIS, he was in Victorious, which is past my time for kids shows, but one of my early little gigs outside of college was editing his demo reel, so I got to see some of this footage. And so I'm just very proud of Steven. I was just amazed to see that he was in the title sequence, which is such a jump, you know what I mean? From when he first started getting roles. Of course, every actor, most actors get those tiny bit roles. And so to see him get that jump and get a real starring or recurring role, however it's called, I still don't quite know. Despite my bachelor's degree in directing for movies and television, I do not know what that's called. But just to see him in the title treatment and to see him be a main character interacting with everyone was just such a joy. And that's the real reason I checked this out. So it's not really my kind of show, but that's why also I'm just kind of covering the entire series. Because again, when I reconnected with Steven, there was only 2 seasons, and the word was they were not going to do a season 3. And the next thing I know, there's a season 3. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. All right, then I'm watching this too. First off, for those of you who don't know what Bosch Legacy is, let me break you in because I didn't know. Bosch Legacy is the sort of continuation of the crime cop show Bosch, which appeared on television, which is about Detective Bosch, LAPD, going out there solving crimes, taking down the bad guys. And in this show, he's retired, but now he's working as a private detective. But as a private detective, he works with, in this show, he works with a hacker, a computer guy named Mo, who helps him get into places, get data that he could never get himself. But he also helps him figure out if he's somehow being tracked by an opposing enemy to one of his clients or something like that, which so often happens. So many times in the show, someone is tracking Bosch's car for one reason or another, whether it's for nefarious reasons or whether they're part of the government. There's always something going on, and I've just gotten used to it. By season 3, I've gotten used to, Mo, I'm gonna need you to check my car. Why? How did this person find me? Oh yeah, you know what I mean. So I think it's funny seeing this kind of, I guess the way they discuss Bosch's character, he's always been a little bit of a renegade, doing things his own way. As far as I believe, one of the creators of the show is also the author of the book that this series is based off of, Michael Connolly. So this is based off of a book. I don't know how accurate this is, any of this is, to real life police work. I'm sure there's a fuzzy line there for entertainment purposes. But one of the things that actually made me really enjoy the show was that the Bosch Legacy pilot actually starts off with Bosch's daughter, played by Madison Lintz, who is just starting her career as a cop. And you kind of see her, I don't know if it's her first night or just an early part of her career. She's just sort of begun being a police officer. And then there's this chase with a perp. I forget what the guy did. And she ends up separating from her partner. And she's not supposed to do that. And that lands her in trouble, which brings her to meeting up with her dad, Bosch, played by Titus Welliver, who I know from Lost. I didn't realize how many things I've actually seen him in until I looked up his IMDb. I was like, you've been in like half the stuff I've watched. You've been in so many movies and shows. But I know him from Lost as the Man in Black, who shows up in the season 5 finale, who's essentially one of the major villains of the show, although we don't realize he's been a villain the entire time. Threads were laid that he was there, but you didn't know what it meant. And then by season 5 and 6, they explain who he is, and his character, it's for what few episodes he has in Lost. As a Lost fan, he just really just is like, oh god, this guy's great. Like, I want more. I want more of this relationship with his character and another mysterious character from the Lost show, that they're actually brothers, and this is the show has a larger dynamic going on than just people stuck on an island. So that was what made me know his face. And then he was also in Transformers Agents of he was also in Transformers Age of Extinction. And so I was like, oh, good to see you again, Mr. Man in Black. But then I also, looking him up, I'm like, dude, you were in Agents of Shield for like most of the show. You were in Argo. You were in Man on a Ledge. He's been in so much stuff. This guy's he's really solid. But my introduction to him in this show is Mads, as his daughter is called, coming to visit him at his home. Dad, I got in trouble. I screwed up at work. Hey, Mads, that's part of the job. You just gotta now you messed up. Now you gotta pay your dues and just keep going. And it's just the beginning of a really nice relationship. And actually, especially with season 1, what really kept me engaged in the show, because unfortunately, as I'm watching for Mo, or Steven, my buddy, the emotional part that's engaging for me in season 1 is just watching Madison Lint's character go from being a no vice cop to getting better and better and better. Eventually, very quickly, she becomes partners with Officer Vasquez, played by Denise Sanchez, who is also wonderful. She was in The Mayans, The Good Place, Criminal Minds, General Hospital, the Fallout Boy music video. I don't know Fallout Boy, but I know a lot of people who were fans of Fallout Boy. So, and I recognized her even though I don't think I've actually watched any of those shows. But that relationship is wonderful. How it starts in season 1 and how it grows across the entire series, I absolutely love. And some of their best episodes together are actually in season 2 and 3, as their relationship develops, because you see both characters go through really hard times, and it's a beautiful it's a beautiful one of those. I'm stumbling on those words. I'm trying to say this correctly. It's a beautiful relationship where you're seeing a work relationship morph into a friendship and kind of a sisterhood, because it's these two women who are sometimes underestimated, but most of the time they're just doing their jobs and trying to be their best. And then when shit hits the fan, that's when you see that they're real characters, that they do care about each other. It's not just that we work together, but they care about each other, they're looking out for each other. And it's absolutely doesn't replace the Bosch and father daughter relationship, but it becomes just another thing that dials me in because it's such a good relationship. So, in terms of being a good cop show, I can't really judge that because I don't watch a lot of cop shows. But as a filmmaker, as a fan of just good writing, good television, good, just well done stuff, hence the title, why it's great. This show does an excellent job of building the relationships and really making the drama well done, so that by the series end, because technically season 3 is supposed to be the end of the series. It doesn't feel like it to me, but watching these relationships grow and develop is actually, it's gratifying because the story actually goes somewhere by every single finale. Because there's times in each of the seasons where, because I'm not a fan of this genre, I do kind of check out if Steven's not on, or if it's not specifically my favorite couple of relationships. I kind of check out, I'll look at my phone a bit more, or I'm doing something. I'm just trying to support my buddy. I just want to see his scenes most of the time. Also, because they're setting up the seeds for all the payoffs. But once you get to those payoffs, I have to say, like, I could see why fans of the original show would stick through all of it. But then, as someone like myself who is not typically a fan of this, once those payoffs happen, I'm like, oh, no wonder people are a fan of this. No wonder people are itching for more, because the way they layer the emotional drama with the cop drama, with all the sort of tension building up to what's the criminal about to do in all 3 seasons, like how they build to that finale is perfect. And like I said, even though I checked out a bit, it's not like I'm not knowing what's going on. It's not my genre. So when they're getting into the setupy stuff, I know it's the setupy stuff, and I'm just like, okay, that's fine. But it's just once they get back to the characters reacting to what's going on, and that's when I'm like, oh man, I'm back. I'm so easily back. And I want to shout out Mimi Rogers, who plays, God, what a great name. She plays Honey Money Chandler. And I cannot not remember that name, because Chandler, that's, rest in peace, Matt Perry's character in Friends. So in my head, I'm like, are you Chandler's relative? You know what I mean? Because I can't tell from your age if you would be like an older sister or like a mother or what. You know what I mean? I can't really tell, especially because when I looked Mimi Rogers up, because there's something about her. I'm like, even though I didn't see Bosch, I'm instantly connected to this actress, and I don't know why. I'm sitting there thinking, I kind of love this woman. Not like romantically, just, or maybe romantically, I don't know. I kind of love this woman, and I just don't know why. I recognize you, and I don't know why. And her character, she's such a sort of stiff, tough, cold. She's a real tough cookie of a character, and she doesn't let anything get by her. She's the lawyer who, I guess, she has a contentious relationship with Bosch. They were on different sides of. It sounds like I can only infer from this, from Bosch Legacy, but it sounds like in the Bosch show they were oftentimes on opposite sides of issues. So, but I have to shout her out. She was in Ginger Snaps. I saw that. That was a great movie. I saw it a long time ago. I don't remember it anymore. She was in Lost in Space, the movie, the original one, or not the original live action movie back in the 90s featuring the other Friends actor Matt LeBlanc. Joey, how you doing? And she's the mother in that show, and I remember it's not dissimilar from her appearance here in Bosch Legacy. I distinctly remember her being not only just a warm maternal figure, but also she could be tough. She could really, you could feel like, oh, this woman is the woman who is married to the leader, William Hurt, rest in peace, William Hurt, the leader of this little family. But also, you could see how she has that toughness in her to survive all the crazy situations they have going on in that movie. Heather Graham's also in that. Gary Oldman's in there. There's a lot of great talent in that movie. And I still love the Lost in Space movie, although I never saw the original show. I have not bothered to check out the Netflix new show, so I have no words on that. But just, I do have a fondness for that movie, in particular, once again, because of Friends, because of Matt LeBlanc, who, although his particular character I do think is kind of silly, and I can't help but think about Friends when I see him just because it was one of my favorite shows as a little kid. But he stood out to me because he's the only character out of everybody, as arrogant as he came off, he actually had a good payoff, which was once little creepy alien bugs start trying to attack the family, he's like, I got this, draws a gun, and my first Spawn slash Iron Man moment that I've ever seen in a movie, even though technically I think Spawn happened first, where this metal shield comes over his face, which also looks not too dissimilar from the what's it called? Not Iron Spider-Man, but there's a metallic gray Iron Man like Spider-Man suit that Spider-Man has. But it was just such an amazing Iron Man like moment. There's so many great cinematic moments in Lost in Space that I love. But anyway, besides that, Mimi Rogers also in Ash vs. Evil Dead, X Files, but most importantly, what I realized why I have this connection to her, she played Mrs. Kensington in Austin Powers, and that's one of those movies where again she's already playing a slightly older character than I think even she was at the time. They put her with the little gray hair and all this stuff. I'm like, I don't think you're actually. But the whole point is that because Austin Powers time travels, he's sort of frozen for 20 years, so she has to be aged and already have lived her life, and it's not. And Austin doesn't, so it's not their time was never meant to be. But Austin Powers, you could tell, loved her, and she adored him back. But it was a little bit of that James Bond and Moneypenny type of deal, where these two have a connection, but they work together, and there's kind of a valid reason for them not to ever cross that line, even though there's clearly an attraction that's mutual. So, but she was just, she just imbued such a feeling that as a little kid, I just got like, I get why Austin Powers is so in love with her. And then you have Elizabeth Hurley playing her daughter, Ms. Kensington. So, of course, the beginnings of all my 90s crushes. But yeah, Mimi Rogers, I thought she plays such a cold, hard beast in this show. And again, it's fun watching her and Bosch have these conflicts with each other that slowly smooth out across the series. But more importantly, even she requires Mo for some of her services. And so I love seeing Steven passed around amongst the cast to do his technically illegal hacking. You know what I mean? I'm like, is this legal? He doesn't have a search warrant for any of the things he's doing. But okay, I guess it qualifies as evidence because it's evidence. Okay. How does that work? Whatever. But yeah, so just I wanted to shout out this entire cast because there's plenty of more supporting cast who deserve praise as well, but these are all the ones in the title sequence, and they're the main cast that we see from the entire series. And every single one of them has great scenes, great moments, and I just really want to shout out just how, from top to bottom, what really impresses with me with this show, besides obviously great casting and clearly great directing. Like this is a very well directed show because every episode looks very cinematic. They really know where to put the camera, and it doesn't look like a TV show. It looks like a little movie, not even an independent movie. It looks like a little movie, a reasonable budget movie where they really know how to make it look like big cinema. And that's what I love watching is that the cinematography. I wish I had written down some of the cinematographers. I have just one, but there's so many episodes, especially the finale of season one, where we get a Sicario battle between a hit woman and Bosch, which is that's a great one. There's so many episodes of season two when they're Bosch is sneaking around in the dark trying to get the bad guys, and with that in mind, season three, my favorite shot. And whenever it's in the dark, especially, like they manage to get these really cinematic looks where it looks like a feature film, and it just happens to be a TV show. Whenever they're doing their sleuth scenes or they're doing, because Mo, Steven, is always sleuthing around, taking photographs. He's a little undercover Peter Parker, you know what I mean? Uh, this is what Jimmy Olsen was doing before he died in Batman v Superman. Don't you dare kill Mo. There better be a Bosch season 4 to 5 where we get more Mo. God dang it. But yeah, but I did want to note the director of photography, Steven Feinberg, who does 5 episodes of season 3, because my favorite shot, even though so much of the show looks good, especially those early episodes, really I was like, geez, dude, like the production quality of this show is top notch. But my absolute favorite shot, hopefully by the time I'm editing this, I take the time and get that for you. My absolute favorite shot in this entire show, which epitomizes the cinematic quality of the show. There's a sequence in season 3, episode 8, where a bad guy's about to enter a building and Bosch is waiting in the dark with his gun, and you don't know what's going to happen. Bosch is not supposed to be killing anybody. That's kind of the whole thing of the show. Don't be going all renegade and killing people, Bosch. We need to actually arrest these people and get valuable information from them. But there's just this one shot where the whole thing is shot well. I love you get silhouettes of the bad guy, the way he's shot. Even later scenes with that same bad guy character, Zerillo, where again it's all in the dark, where he's waiting to kill someone else in the dark. But this particular shot, you just see Titus Welliver with his gun. He's ready for action, and there's this little sliver of light cutting down the center of his face because technically the door is open that the bad guy's on the other side of. But it's very cool. You can kind of see the blinds a little bit. Something about that shot, I just thought this is magnetic. Like it feels like we're in the space that we are, but it also just looks like a great detective noir movie. I feel like I could snap image of this, and if I told you that this is a shot from the epic Christopher Nolan noir film Bosch Memento-y, I don't know, that's terrible. Whatever, you know what I mean? Like just that shot in particular. There's so much of this show that looks so good. That obviously the writing's good. I've been praising the character relationships. The casting's great. Most of the cast from the original show. But man, I just thought the fact that the cinematography was top notch, because not every show, even if I love it or like it, has cinematography that I need to stop and tell you about. So I think on every single level, as a filmmaker and as a fan of just quality stuff, hence again the title, why it's great, I was really captured by how well every level of the filmmaking was achieved. So hats off. That's as spoiler free as I can really get, because if you have not watched Bosch Legacy and you're just someone who I don't feel like watching the original show. I kind of want to just dive in. If that's how you're feeling, I think this show does a great job that you can do that, especially because it really starts on the daughter, hence the title Legacy. Like, legacy is something that totally matters. So that's what was able to get me into the show and not have to sit there going, oh, what's going on? Because right off the bat, we're starting off with like Bosch's daughter's first day or her early days in being a cop, and sort of the consequences of her mistakes and trying to figure out how to do things right, and getting right in there with her new partner, the Officer Vasquez, the Denise Sanchez character. That all of this stuff starts right from the pilot. But then also we have Bosch's private detective work, which, he starts a new assignment also in the first episode. So you're not coming into things that are, you have to have watched the previous show to know what's going on. You can just come right into the show and totally go along with it. That's what I really appreciate about the how they constructed the show. So, as spoiler free as I can get, that's I want to say, if you like cop shows, and certainly it sounds like from the what comments I have read on IMDb, if you liked Bosch, it sounds like the general consensus is you'll love Bosch Legacy, and I definitely really got a kick out of it. Again, the finales, even if there was episodes where I'm like, you're setting stuff up, I get it, I know how this goes. Like, the same things are in superhero shows, so it's here too. But yeah, so even with the setup-y episodes, which are not my favorite, when we get to the payoffs, every finale is so worth getting to. And I just love how they put this show together. So if you're new to Bosch, check it out. And if you are already a fan of Bosch, I'm a newbie who just walked in here. And actually, by season three's end, I gotta admit, I kind of want to check out the original Bosch. I was always, every time this show is at its peak, when there's like a great episode, it pings in me like, go check out the rest of this show. Check out the original show. Come on, you're missing something. And all the strength of it is in the relationships. Even Bosch and Mo Steven, my buddy, even those episodes where most episodes Mo is just the tech support basically, but season 2 he gets some really good material, and it, to me, I feel like the way the show ends, you could see it as a conclusion, but at the same time I think it still leaves room open. I feel like there's totally 2 more seasons of material sitting there, because I absolutely feel like with season 2, how they bring Steven's character Mo into the story, he gets his own little storyline, and I get some of my favorite scenes of his. I'm like, oh, you really gave Steven something to do. Thank you. You know what I mean? It's cool that he's the cool guy for most of the show, but I love that he actually gets more hands on. He gets he gets more than just being the man in the chair. And some of my favorite moments with the whole show are with Steven and Titus, with Bosch and Mo, in particular season 2, and some scenes in season 3 because they're just more funny. But I really just like how their relationship tightens up in season 2, and I understand why they couldn't do more of that in season 3, because actually they go in and explore the Officer Vasquez's life in season 3. But that's what makes me totally feel like there's room in here for 2 more seasons, because I would love to see this entire family get just a little bit closer and push the drama a little bit further. And then the finale has Maggie Q. And I love Maggie Q ever since Live Free or Die Hard and Balls of Fury. And I know she's been in tons of stuff. Oh, she was in Mission Impossible 3. And I've heard great things about La Femme Nikita when she takes that show on. So yeah, I got a lot of affection for Bosch Legacy. If you haven't checked it out, please go check it out. And if you want to see spoilers, hang on, and I'll be getting into spoilers. I'll be talking about some of my favorite scenes, some of my favorite performances, and some of my favorite episodes. And yeah, that'll be the spoiler section. So hopefully you're down for that. Hopefully I'll see you for the spoilers. Mahalo if you made it this far. All right, here we go.